Now we're talking. So, Bill, what did your mom and dad do for a living?
Well, my dad grew up without a father. And to tell you the story, maybe you don't want to hear it, but
No, go ahead.
I say he grew up without a father
Right.
because when they had 4 boys, between my dad and his wife, and he always wanted a girl. So when my dad came along, of course, his father had passed on with cancer, as I understand it. And when my dad was born, of course, there he was born without a father because his dad died with cancer. But before he had passed away, he went on the streets in Andover. That's quit. He said, I quit. Because he always wanted a girl. I said, that's quit. Well, quit stayed with my dad from his day to retirement on the railroad, which was, I believe, 44 years. And he was a railroad, what do you call it? I don't know, we're usually, at that time they used, what do you call that dog? Where you dot, 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 dot.
Oh, Morse code.
Morse code, yeah.
Sure.
Well, anyhow, I see my dad grew up with a father, very poor because evidently he didn't leave his wife anything. And as the kids grew up, the 4 boys, they left. Some of them come back, I guess, for a quick view. But so I can just picture my dad running the streets. No dad. I can just picture him. This is a picture that I have of him.
Right.
I have a picture of my dad running the streets, but he didn't seem to get in any, from what I can gather, any trouble. And he had his friends, and as far as he knows, he got to the 8th grade in school. And that was clothesless and everything else, And my dad was a great guy. And he raised his kids, but the name Quit stayed with him. Even when he retired from the railroad, he was surprised to see there it was supposed to be Alan Percy Johnson, which the name his mother had given him, but it was Quit Alan Johnson on there. And he was very surprised. I went with him to get this retirement straightened out. He was very surprised. He said, I thought my name was Alan Percy Johnson. It was not right on the, whatever that slippage they gave you. It was Quit Alan Johnson. So he was known in that little town of Andover, Ohio, which is comparable to maybe Faulkner, New York.
Right.
And he was known from then on as Quit Johnson, right to the day he died. Of course, he died within 10 miles of where he was born.
No kidding.
Yeah, and he's buried there in Dorset, Ohio.
Yeah.
My mother grew up very poor. I think my mother was born in I can't think of names. Anyhow, her mother and her father, that would have been her great-grandparents, grew up and raised 13 kids.
Wow.
The mother was white. This is just what I gathered. Her mother was white, and he was known as poor Pennsylvania Dutch, I believe it was. I did have a picture. Still have a big picture of the whole family. They looked like they were dressed well.
Yeah.
And some of them I never got to see. And others I did meet. Like one grew up to be a preacher, and one was a carpenter, and on and on and on. But some of them I never got to see because they had passed on. So that was about, and my mother, she was just, well, I can just picture my mother as being very poor. And in fact, I heard my mother let out her grievances to her mother, who was visiting us at the time. She turned blind, in fact, her mother did. And I let out her grievances for once. How she had 4 children. And I heard her say yes, the rest of them got an education. They were able to go to school. And a couple of them went to college. And one of them died, her sister died. But she said to me, she said, no, I had to work to furnish food for this family you're going.
Right.
And she was bitter. She was bitter. But they got along pretty good. But she was bitter about that. She said, the other one got a nice education. I didn't get even the highest grade school education, you know. She said, no, you had to send me out to do housework for the rich people while the rest of them just stayed home.
Yeah.
So that was about the picture of
And you were born when? What's your birthday?
December 25, 1913.
Christmas baby.
Yeah. Yeah, I get a lot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're 101 years old, Bill.
Yeah.
You look good.
Well, that's what they say, but my eyes must be failing terrible.
Well, you've been so good to so many people. You know, you grew up in Ohio then, right?
Yeah.
And was there any segregation issues there when you were growing up, Bill?
Oh yes, Andover was a KKK head.
Was it?
In the middle of the square, they call it the square, round circle, in which all the businesses were situated. And I don't know what night it was, but the KKK would hold a big meeting over in they call it the grandstand. It was sitting in the middle of this park. And people would crowd in there, really crowds of them, you know. But I didn't know what the hell was going on there. But it was the KKK meetings. And, when my dad moved to this town of Dorset, which is about less than 10 miles from Andover, he was forced to move because of his job. He was a telegraph operator, and moving was my mother had to spend the brunt of it because, you know, moving from Andover to Dorset, we had no electricity, no running water, no everything. And that's why I say my mother had to faced the brunt of it, how to get we had 5 in our family. How to get 5 of us out to school out of a wash tub. And no electricity, we had kerosene lamps. And that went on for I don't know how long, but a while. And my dad had gotten this letter through the mail, just on a yellow piece of paper, and I don't know why my sister threw it away, but she did. And it said, "Negroes, if you value your life, you won't move to Dorset." Just like that. Well, my father went out and bought himself an old revolver. I don't think he could hit one of these walls with it. But he bought it, and it was there when he died. My wife, but my sister threw that away. And later, though, he found out who had it was in handwriting. He found out who wrote the letter. So he turned it into the postal clerk in Andover. And when he went back to get a review of who it was and everything, he had to laugh because the postmaster, he was the biggest KKK man in Andover.
No kidding.
Yes. So, but he did find out who wrote the letter. But my mother had to spend, can you imagine growing 4 little Negro kids in a town we were the only ones there. But as far as other segregation, Greg, I'm calling you the right name.
Yep, yeah, absolutely.
I could tell you a story.
Sure.
If you got we lived on this Cinder Road. No sidewalk or anything. We lived on this Cinder Road. There was one other family lived on the road. At the end of the road, which was a curve, also a hitching rail, which you don't see very often. But there was this quite large house. And into this house moved this.
Bill, just a second, I'm going to hold up.
Yes, Cinder Road. So into this house, big house, never did know who lived in that. It was quite a large house. But into this house moved a family from West Virginia. Sometimes the West Virginians and Negroes don't get along, you know. But this family had 7 girls and 4 boys. 7 girls and 4 boys. And they get along wonderful. And John Hinkle, he was a great guy. Cecil Hinkle, the oldest, him and I were great friends. And the gist of the story is when we moved, or when I had my 100th birthday down the street here.
Right.
Here comes a story and a long list. I wish I had them with me. Of the Hinkle family.
Wow.
And wish you made how they got the wind that I was even alive or not graduating, but you know. And so if Diana lets you in the house, I'll get her to show it to you.
Yeah, she'll drop it off sometime.
Yeah, because it's a surprise. You were at my party.
Yeah, I was at your party.
Yeah.
That was a very
But
nice.
how this girl ever found out about my party or anything is a mystery to me, because I must have been the oldest to leave the territory, and she must have been the youngest. So I don't even remember her actually. Yeah. She must have been a little wee girl. But anyhow, she wrote me this congratulatory letter, and since then she's been trying to communicate with me, which I'm slow to do, and I'm guilty of it, but I want to do it. And she sent me a nice picture of her, and I think it's her daughter. Very nice. She's in the house in there. I wanted Diane to give it to you.
Well, take a look at that.
Yeah. It's of May. Now I forgot her last name now. But she could give me a history of her life, kind of.
Right.
That she had two boys. They went to San Francisco, and there one of them passed away. And it seemed that the other one moved them to looks like a very nice dwelling place. What do you call it? Anyhow.
How long did you live in Andover?
How
long did you live there?
How long? Well, I lived there till I was in the 4th grade. And we were going to school up over an old, the old fire engine hall, because at the time Andover was building a new school building. They were picking up any old building they could find to put a classroom in. I ended up going upstairs. I remember, not a good one, and we had to sit 2 in a seat, and we didn't know any better, you know. And so that was my last days that I remember of going to school in Andover. After that, we moved to Dorset. My dad and mother didn't want to change me during the middle of a grade.
Right.
And so I had a free pass on the railroad because my dad was a telegraph operator. And I would go on the front of our house, listen to, from here to the corner was the depot. Oh, we call it the depot. And I would go out, wave a little white something way up the track. I could see that what fascinated me for some reason. I could see a little white puff of smoke. That means the conductor seen me, and he'll pick me up, you know.
Wow.
And I done that for the last part of my 4th year. I'd go out and nothing to it, you know, just wave a little way, and they'd stop, pick me up, and ride me to Andover, which is probably less than 10 miles. And after school there, my grandmother, my dad's mother, she lived right on this circle of places. She had a little business of her own that she made some kind of leaves for women or something. They were very, very poor. I don't know how she did it. And so after school, I just wandered around. I walked across the park, went into my grandmother's house, and waited till the time for the train to go back to Dorset. And then she'd tell me it was about time, Billy. You better get down there to catch your train. And I would go down to the station and get on the train and ride back to Dorset. And I'd done that for the last 4 years, I think. And from then on, of course, went to school in Dorset. I tell everybody that I was 14th in my class. Well, they say, that ain't too bad. I said, but there are only 14 of us in the class. And people seem to get a kick out of that, but it's true. I was only black in there, you know. And we had a very good baseball team. And won the, if you look up a record, we won the Ashtabula County Championship. I don't know what league it was called then at all, but we did have some pretty good baseball players because we had nothing else to do.
So what did you play? What was your best position?
Probably pitching
Pitching?
and first base. We didn't have very many to pick from, you know.
Were you a pretty big kid?
No,
No.
no. And but the guys treated me fine. The guys treated me fine. Of course, I treated them fine. There's no use in one against a group.
How did you finally end up in this area here, Bill?
I have a name of Dick Lattimore. You remember the Lattimore family?
I do, yes.
Well, he was visiting Paynesville, Ohio, where I was staying with my grandmother at the time. Him and I one day decided let's go to New York City. And my aunt had a big house there. She wanted it painted, and she gave us, I don't know what it was, whether it was $100 to pay it or $100 to split to pay it. I don't know which it was. So we painted her house, made enough money to get back to Jamestown, and we decided that from there we're going to travel to New York City to see what it was like. But my friend Dick Lattimore's mother said, well, Dick, you know, they're hiring down at Gurney Ball Bearing. That's what it was called at that time, Gurney Ball Bearing. Why didn't you just try that? So we did, and sure enough, here out of the gate come a guy that knew Dick Lattimore well. Dick was a pretty good basketball player, as I understand it. And he said, what are you doing here, Dick? And Dick said, we're looking for a job. Well, he said, come on in. And that's how it happened.
Gosh, and you worked at SK or Gurney and then MRC for how many years?
It was 36 or 38.
Wow.
I've got a plaque, they say that. I guess it was 38 years. But the plaque is, of course, all at home. And, of course, it was Gurney Ball Bearing. We started at 40 cents an hour, I remember. 40 cents an hour. But then we got laid off 2 or 3 times. And the last time I stayed. And it was transferred, I think, to SKF. I don't know if they bought it or what happened, I don't know. But the secretary of the union, I forgot his name now, but he showed me this long list of people that worked at there at some time. And it seems to be that I'm the oldest living person in the company, because I guess the companies are all joined together in some way. That's the way I figured it out.
Well, you're a legend.
Yeah.
Bill, do you remember December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor?
Pearl Harbor. Yeah, kinda. Not like I should, but kinda.
What was it like? You were in the ball bearings business during the war,
Yeah.
and you were at an age. Were you deferred?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was deferred by a year or something like that. And they didn't take me. For what reason, I don't know yet, because maybe they volunteered and I didn't. Because some of them that were younger than me went. But I don't know, I just got my things from the government, looked at them, signed them, and passed them on, or whatever you had to do. That's all there was to it. I didn't have to go. I didn't even have to go for an exam.
You were too essential.
I don't know what it was, but I didn't have to go for an exam or nothing. I stayed on.
What was it like at the, ball bearings company during that World War II? Was there a lot of, because they needed the ball bearings for the aeronautics. Did you sense, was there a lot of activity, a buzz, just things going on during that time period? Or was it just normal?
In a way, we knew we were making bearings for especially air flight thing. That one bearing was called a prop bearing, and I think they still make it, from the last I heard. And we knew that was going. It was a bearing that was about that big around, and made not too good. I say that was no fancy thing or two. And they tell me it would go into the prop, and it would turn the prop only just part way on the airplane. That's the way I got it. But we made lots of them. And we had bond parties at the shop. One of the parties Lucille Ball attended. Yeah, and that was a pitiful thing, because I think Lucille Ball expected to sell lots of bonds right then and there, because it was Lucille Ball. She sold one or two. And the reason was they had canvassed the whole plant before that for buyers of bonds. And nobody told her or anything about it, but she broke down and cried, and it was pitiful. It was pitiful. For me it was, yeah. Other ones are sitting back like they always do, laughing. And but that's one time that I got to see Lucille Ball, and also her husband,
Desi Arnaz?
Yes, because at the same time they were holding the big sportsman dinner up in the hotel, and Desi Arnaz sat at the table of Desi Arnaz, Jackie Robinson was a part of the troupe, and that was quite nice. Yeah, but I did feel sorry for Lucille Ball. It was uncalled for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the sports scene like when you were in Jamestown? MRC had fast pitch teams. Did you play in any of those Muni leagues or that?
No. But I do remember Jackie Robinson, Desi Arnaz, or Jackie was notable. Desi Arnaz actually was not a notable. But
and you went to the dinner that year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you go to the dinner a lot that was put on by the Jewish Men's Club?
I don't remember going to it a lot, no, but I did go to more than one. I do remember going to it, because I had a brother-in-law that lived in Portville, New York, and he always wanted to go to these dinners, and he'd have me buy a ticket ahead of time. It was well attended.
Yes.
Yeah. So my life has been, could have been better, I guess. Well, I'm going to give you how this girl, her name is May Hinkle, and she told me how she got where she is now. Her husband bought this, not what do you call them? They're nice looking. And she expected to die in San Francisco, though. She expects to go back to not her husband, her son. You can see I'm pretty much mixed up because, and May Hinkle, how she got a hold of me, I don't know. I'm going to get Diane to give you those nice pictures of her, and I think it's her daughter. At the time, they lived not a lot far from Warren, Ohio. Yeah, but how May Hinkle got a hold of me, I don't know. No, it was a mystery. I thought, gosh, that's pretty nice of her. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Bill, you and I go back to the Resource Center days on the board with Mike Raymond.
Oh, that's a great guy. I loved Mike Raymond, but the damn booze bottle would not leave him alone. I thought he was brilliant.
So did I.
I thought Mike Raymond was a brilliant guy, the way he steered them into some of these, buying that big brick there.
Well, the Jones and Gifford building.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Art Metal.
Yeah, our metal. Getting that for one thing. Anything there. And one is Jones Gifford. And one was out on, I forget the name of the road, but there's a lot of them.
In Long Hunt Road.
Yeah. And we had the opening services, and I think McCarthy was the mayor of New York City, and how he was there. They all had their spades and things. I've got pictures of them on some of my old movies, but I thought Mike Raymond was great. I liked him.
So you took movies, huh?
Kinda.
How far? When did you start taking movies?
Gee, I really can't tell you.
Back in the 40s, 50s?
Gosh, I don't know.
Who's got those movies now? Diane?
Yeah, she's got. Oh, I had lots of movies. Some of them weren't too good, you know. And
Did you ever used to go down to the Jamestown Falcons baseball games?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't go to enough of them because they had some good players.
Sure did.
Yeah. No, I say I didn't go to enough of them.
Well, Bill, I've taken a lot of your time today, but I'm just so thrilled to talk to you about your life.
Oh, my life has been. I wonder about my life sometimes. I never done anything nasty, bad, or anything like that. We got along with our neighbors, which I think was very well. And I thought of many times, here's that boy standing on that cinder road at the curve in it, looking up the track, which is only about a mile up the track where my dad worked. And then looking at the depot, they called it, where now he worked. And then off to the road, and that was the end of me. How I got to where I am, I wonder sometimes. I wonder. Yeah. I had a guy, a good friend of mine, we had pretty good baseball teams in what they call I forget what circuit they call it. We actually had a day or two come from Cleveland, Ohio to play there.
Wow.
And the Rosenblums. Can't think of any other. But then we had pretty good teams come up from Youngstown, Ohio. Dorset was kind of known in baseball, yeah. Basketball, nothing. We got pretty interested in tennis. My dad and I started that.
Really?
I don't know how we got into it, but once we started a friend of my dad's from Andover, Ohio, who was an anti-Kluxer. His father was a Ku Kluxer. And his father run the hardware store in Andover. Of course, we had to buy it. There was no place else to buy. But anyhow, this son, he was just as anti-Ku Kluxer as he could be, you know. Charlie Cole. He was actually a very good tennis player. And he got my dad interested in, we had picks and shovels going there in Dorset, leveling off a lot that was vacant. And we built this tennis court, and pretty soon it converted into quite a thing, and tennis. Before that, Dorset was null and void. But yeah, it was all right. But if you ever get a chance to go to the Pymatuning Reservoir, it's quite a sight.
It is.
It's quite a sight. Not far from us. And I can remember starting because I believe it was called PWA, I believe it was made up of, I believe. And they bought all this valley, I believe it was called the Conewango Valley, and where they purchased all the land on each side of this valley and tore down the buildings and built a big dam down at the end of the place called Jamestown. A big dam down there. And they expected this water to help, Pittsburgh had a water condition. They expected this dam to help out in some way. I don't know how, I have no idea. But right now the dam filled up much faster than they thought it would. And it's kind of a, it's well attended now, I think, much better than I really know. And it's quite a sight, as I said, a wildlife sight. I think Pittsburgh Academy has a part in it somewhere. But water-wise, Probably. I got it here. I got it. Water-wise, I would. Well, just looking at it, I would say probably comparable to Chautauqua Lake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this has been fun to reminisce, Bill.
Yeah, I hope I'm accurate on one thing.
Well, I'm going to talk to Diane to see if she can find those old movies.
Oh, I got a line of old movies. I got the big track movies. Some of them I put onto, what do you call them?
DVDs?
Yeah. Some of them I trashed onto there.
Yeah.
And I was kind of a dummy with it anyhow. But yeah, there's a lot of it there. A lot of it there.
Well, I'll talk to her about that, and we'll come down and maybe we'll watch it someday.
Okay. Okay.
Well, thank you, Bill. I don't want to wear you out here.
Oh, I'm worried. I'm worried out.
You take a nap now? Lloyd Williams.
Nice fella, smart fella. I think he was in with guys that, why should I say this? It seemed that run over him a lot. That is the brothers, I forgot their names now.
At State Line?
Yeah.
The Frank brothers.
Yes. I shouldn't say that because I don't know, but I get there and talking to Lloyd. Lloyd died quite young, you know. Yeah. But he's a nice guy. Very smart. Yeah.
What motivated him? Was he a race car driver or just...
I guess he was. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he got into it head over heels. He died, I believe, before he was 50, I believe.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think he was before 50.
Yeah, he was...
It turned into quite a big thing.
Well, and it still is, yeah.
Yeah. Biggest thing we got around. Yeah. But Lloyd Williams, yes.
Did your parents, when that baseball barnstorming days, do you remember any of the Negro League teams coming to Jamestown? Do you remember any of that?
No.
When Satchel Paige came and played?
No.
Any of that?
No.
No.
No. We had a couple of them come to Dorset there once. Through Andover, or Youngstown.
Did you?
They played in Youngstown and come up to Andover to play, or to Dorset to play. I believe we beat them. I don't remember that though, but I know they come up
Well,
there.
go ahead and say it. Who's going to dispute it?
Yeah. And they come up, and it's kind of a, well, at that time, it was kind of, I can't think of the word to say, but it was, people like to come out and see it.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, Bill, thanks so much. Thanks so much.
Well, I hate to I'll have Diane show you that one picture that I'm proud of that she sent me. And I can't get over the hinkles, you know.